Hello everyone and welcome to Homeschooling with Hera. Hope you all are doing great. In today's video, we shall learn about complex sentences. The learning objectives are you will understand by the end of this video that what are complex sentences, how to make them, and the most important thing, the use of commas in complex sentences. So be with me to the end of the video, and before diving in, let me tell you that if you are a student, teacher or parent, this channel is right for you. If you are interested in English grammar, English phonics, English spelling rules, English creative writing, and above all, how to teach all this stuff to your kids and students in multi-sensory ways. So consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't. Do press the bell icon as well so you can get the notifications of all of my videos. And now, without wasting any time, let's dive in. Alright, so let's first learn about what are complex sentences. Complex sentences are one of the type of English sentences where you need to have one independent and at least one dependent clause. If I talk about independent clause, it means that this is a complete sentence and it carries a complete thought. For example, my name is Hera. This is an independent clause, it's a complete sentence. Dependent clause means that you have a group of words in which you have a verb and often a subject to, but your group of words is not a complete thought like a complete sentence, right? So in clauses, we have a subject and a verb. If the thought is complete of the clause, you will call it independent clause. But if the thought is not complete in the clause, you will call it dependent clause. I have some complete videos on the topic dependent and independent clauses. If you want to get more clarity about clauses, the links to those videos are in the description box. You can check them out. But right now you don't need to jump onto that because I have given you some preview about clauses, and now we can simply learn that what are complex sentences. Later you can go and watch the other video too. So let's see these examples. I'll call you when I'll get free. I have two thoughts in this sentence. I'll call you is the first thought. When I'll get free is the second thought. Now let's do something. If I just cover this part of my sentence, I'm left with I'll call you, right? I'll call you. This is a complete thought. But if I cover this part of the sentence and read this side, it is when I'll get free. When I'll get free, then what? It means that this part of the sentence is not a complete thought or is not giving you the complete sense of what you are talking about. So this is our dependent clause because it cannot stand alone as a sentence. And this one, I'll call you, is an independent clause because it can stand alone as a sentence, right? So what are complex sentences? Sentences in which you have one independent clause and at least one dependent clause. I'll call you when I'll get free. This is our complex sentence. Let's see another example. Let me cover this part of sentence. After you finish your lunch. After you finish your lunch, then what? Is it a complete sentence? Nope. It's not giving us the complete thought or the meaning what we want to say. Now let's cover this part and read the second sentence. Could you come to my office? Does it make sense? Can this part of the sentence stand alone as a sentence? Yes, it can. So it means that we have an independent clause as well as a dependent clause, and together they are making a complex sentence. After you finish your lunch, this is dependent clause. Could you come to my office? Independent clause, right? The last example is, since it's late, dependent clause. You should go home, independent clause. Since it's late, you should go home. And this is our complex sentence. Hope the idea is clear, but now we will see that how to make complex sentences, or in other words, what is the structure of complex sentences. So to make complex sentences, we need an independent clause, a dependent clause, and a subordinating conjunction. This is another thing that we need to make a complex sentence: dependent clause, independent clause, and a subordinating conjunction. Now, if you don't know about subordinating conjunctions, let me tell you that conjunctions are joining words. And before learning compound or complex compound sentences, you should know that what are different types of conjunctions. If you don't know this, the video around this topic is linked in the description box. Please have a look at there after finishing this. Right now, I'm just telling you that conjunctions are joining words, and subordinating conjunctions are especially for complex sentences, because in dependent clauses, we need a subordinate conjunction to begin it. Or you can say that dependent clauses begin with subordinating conjunctions. Let's see the structure like this. To write a complex sentence, you need an independent clause plus a subordinating conjunction and a dependent clause. Just hold on a little. I'll give you the list of subordinating conjunctions as well in the upcoming slides. We can make the complex sentences in another way as well. You can begin with a subordinating conjunction and a dependent clause. Okay, they can come at the beginning. But after writing this at the front, you need to have a comma right after it, and then you will write your independent clause. Let's first see some examples of subordinating conjunctions and then some examples of the complex sentences. So there are so many subordinating conjunctions, but some of the most common ones are here. You can remember them with a mnemonic called a white bus. Can you see this? A, W-H-I-T-E, white, B-U-S, bus, a white bus. If I open this mnemonic, so what is for A? A for although, as, after, then with WH, whenever, wherever, when, which, whereas. All these are subordinating conjunction. I for if, in case, in order. T for that, though, till. E for even though, even if. B for because and before. U for until and unless. And S for since. So you can remember all of them, or at least most of them, with this mnemonic a white bus. There is another very common mnemonic for memorizing subordinating conjunction, and that is I saw a Wabub. If you read this vertically down, so this is I, S-A-W, saw, A, W-A-B-U-B, Wabub. Okay, I saw a Wabub. Let me just erase it. And if you open I, it will be if, since, although, when, after, where, as, before, until, and because. We mostly use I saw a Wabub when we are teaching kids subordinating conjunctions for the very first time, because they are the most common. But yes, a white bus is also a good mnemonic if you just want to expand their knowledge a bit. Now let's quickly come back again to the structure. We need independent clause, subordinating conjunction, dependent clause, or subordinating conjunction, dependent clause, a comma, and independent clause. And now it's time to see some examples. There you go. The first sentence is, I won't come if it rains. I won't come is an independent clause, right? And the dependent clause begins with if it rains. We have a subordinating conjunction here, which is indicating that this is a dependent clause. Subordinating conjunction is the clue that this is your dependent clause or subordinating clause. We can use both terms. In the next example, we are beginning our sentence with if, that is a subordinating conjunction. And how we are using it? If it rains, a comma, this is what our second structure is all about. If it rains, comma, I won't come. independent clause. Okay, let's read this sentence. Clear this mess, complete sentence, independent clause, before leaving, dependent clause. Before leaving, this is the conjunction, subordinate conjunction, plus the comma is here. Before leaving, clear this mess. This is our independent clause. So this is how the structure of complex sentences work. I hope that this point is also clear to you. Now let's check out the most important thing, the use of commas in complex sentences. So here you are. You need to use a comma after the dependent clause if it's at the beginning of the sentence. This is a kind of convention or grammar rule that is followed almost in 99% of complex sentences. If you have a dependent clause at the beginning, you need to put a comma after that and then you will write the independent clause. For example, even though his life was difficult, this is our subordinating conjunction and this is our dependent clause. Even though his life was difficult, we barely saw him sad. So, dependent clause, a comma must be here and then the independent clause. Let's check the next sentence. All the animals hid in their hideouts. This is a complete thought. An independent clause. When they sensed a storm. This part is a dependent clause. It is beginning with a subordinating conjunction when. But do you find any comma in between these two? No, we don't have any comma here, which means that if your sentence is beginning with an independent clause, you don't need to have a comma between the independent clause and the dependent clause, right? So we need to remember these two things. They are the most important rules that put a comma if the sentence begins with a subordinating clause or a dependent clause, and don't put a comma if a sentence is beginning with an independent clause. However, in some sentences you might find the structure that you have an independent clause at the beginning and a dependent clause at the end, but still you have a comma here. This happens only if this dependent clause is a non-restrictive clause, or you can say that this is telling some non-essential, this is giving us some non-essential information. We can learn about this concept some other time, because right now when we are learning complex sentences for the very first time, we need to focus on the rule of comma that I have just told you, because it satisfies almost 99% of the complex sentence. So this is the end of our today's video. Hope you have learned something useful from it. If yes, so please give it a thumbs up. If haven't subscribed, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you soon with something new. Take care. Bye for now. And don't forget to make it a great day. Bye.